I like to break flat earth down into 4 sections, or 4 categories, if you will. So what happens in a flat earth argument is it gets very emotional. And the person you're arguing with usually doesn't know their model. Now, there's 2 types of globers. There's globers that don't know their model and globers that like to debunk flat earthers. Now, they don't usually know their model, but they know some straw man arguments, and they've researched enough to remember a little bit of their cosmology, and then they'll hit you with a few factoids they looked up on the internet. They went to Mick West's website, or they listened to Sci-Fi Man Dan, or they listened to Professor Dave Explains, or they listened to McToon, and they learned a few arguments, and they got really energetic about globe Earth, and they got really inspired to debunk this silly cosmological model that is sweeping the nation. Now, not everybody is like this, but you will come across a lot of people who don't want to look into information. They just want to argue it. Now, that has to do with spirituality. It has to do with them tying their egos to the information. And then if they're wrong, that means their ego's wrong. That means they fell for a lie and someone tricked them. And no one tricks them, because it's I think, therefore I am for them. It's I am. They are the information. The information comes from them. Now, it comes from a source, but they're connected to that source, and that source is their God, and that source is government, and that's a pantheistic system, and that's how you control people, and that's how you control masses of people and that's how you overthrow other people, and you get them to believe one thing that is not true, and then you can get them to follow other things and submit to other things. So most people that won't even look into flat earth, they are sheeples. We call them sheeples. They won't look into money being a ripoff and getting screwed over by the Federal Reserve Bank. They won't look into anomalies of the government screwing them over as far as staging events or using events and using crises to then control people. They just go, no, the government can do no wrong for them. They are usually tied to government somehow. Their job is tied to government. That's usually what it is. And they like the status quo, and they don't want the status quo to change. And they're angry that you're challenging the status quo, and then they come along and they want to debunk you. They don't necessarily want to learn, and they don't want to understand what you've learned. So as soon as you start learning any truth, and especially with flat earth, you're going to hear some people say some things, and you're going to be like, no, that's not right. You know both models, and you're going to want to jump in and explain to them how they're just ignorant. And then they're going to come back at you with, oh, you can see satellites, bro. You can just see them with your naked eye. You mean you can see the actual satellite, or you see a light in the sky? They say things like you can see satellites. You can say lights in the sky, and then they think those are satellites. They think cell phones are connected to satellites. They think satellite dishes from DirecTV and whoever else is providing satellite service these days are actually pointed straight up at the sky. They're not. They're pointed at 45-degree angles. So the argument does get emotional, and it also goes all over the place because they're all over the place. So if you categorize flat earth in 4 sections, it doesn't matter which section goes first, and it doesn't matter how you argue it. I just like to archive it in my brain in 4 sections, and that is curvature, motion, and then the 2 models, the globe model and then the flat earth model. The flat earth model is represented by the Gleason map and the AE map, and they will try, the ones that will try to debunk it, they'll try to build your model. So Aristotle built a argument based off of curvature, and he said that you can see a ship in its whole fall off of the horizon, therefore it's falling off of a ball because you see the mast go last. Now, perspective just says you're just seeing above the water, and your eye has a focal point, and you can see above that focal point. You can see above the water. You can also just look out at the ocean and see farther on certain days and not as far as other days. Your sight will get blinded by what's in the air. If it's a cloudy day, if it's a super clear day, you're going to see way farther. We know we're only looking about 3 miles out. And we also know that at 25,000 miles in circumference, where is your curve? We know that that's actually not the curve. The math on it is 8 inches per mile squared. So at 1 mile, it's 8 inches. At 2 miles, it's 32 inches. At 3 miles, it's 72 inches. It's about 6 feet of curvature, and on. Every mile, you're going to curvature. Then motion. Motion was never detected, and gravity is just a theory. So buoyancy and density is just the explanation before Isaac Newton came along and said that there was gravity. So, and then they'll go to the pictures. The pictures is a great way to get them to start to look into their model. They just need to look at their pictures. A lot of times you'll come across people that don't want to debunk flat Earth. They're just like, that's crazy, because they're mesmerized by the pictures. And just get them to look at their pictures. Get them to look at those Hamari 8 satellites. Those are the fakest ones. All the ones that they say come from satellites are the fakest ones. They're the biggest cartoons. The blue marble pictures are ridiculous. They're all really silly. I mean, you can just go on NASA's website and just look at all the information they give us. From all the money we give them, and then you look at what information they give us, you got to be pretty gullible and pretty trusting of your government to believe that they're not faking things. I mean, you go on NASA's website, it's the most computer-generated website. I mean, I want to see an accounting paper from them and see how many IT specialists, how many computer people, how many graphic designers they hire. It's absolutely ridiculous. So then that brings us to the flat Earth model and the Gleason map and the actual the flat Earth. What is the flat Earth? They're gonna try to debunk you with the sun. They're gonna try to debunk this map. Now, what you have to understand is they're not adding proof. Debunking this model doesn't give them proof. So I like to, before we do that, because they don't know their model, and I will go over this model with them. I will go over our model with them, but I also don't like them to then, just because they don't understand it and just because they don't want to understand it, it doesn't give you proof of a 26.6 degree sphere at 25,000 miles in circumference. Nothing proves that. I wrote an argument called a legal argument for flat Earth. Nothing proves that. They have to prove that in order to win their argument. I don't think we should have to prove this flat Earth to then for debunk their globe. They haven't given any proofs of the theory. The theory of the flat Earth, which is not a theory because water always finding its level, is not a theory. Land out of water and a stillness in the sun and the moon and the stars moving around us, and a local sun that goes out of our perspective. Understanding perspective is key for understanding the sun and understanding what you're looking at, what angle you're looking at it with. Now, there's another argument that's a doozy, and people like to bring this one up because it makes them sound smart, and that's circle math. Now, Samuel Rowbotham wrote a book about this called Zetetic Astronomy, and it's a doozy. The basic point from Samuel Rowbotham, and I agree with him, he's saying that your circle math is coming from a flat existence. You can do angles off of a circle, and you will get 2 angles, and you will get 2 shadows, but your starting place is always a flat. You got to prove that it's not a flat plane to have proof that it's a circle. You can't use a piece of paper and you can't use a computer because that's a flat starting place. You have to show me from your shadows of your eclipses and stuff like that. And that's one of the ones they like to use. They like to use lunar eclipses. Now, the biggest rebuttal to that argument is the dark celestial bodies. Now, what's so interesting is NASA now admits, and the intellectuals and of the colleges and stuff admit that there's dark matter and that there's dark celestial bodies. They always do this. They always admit things that debunk their model, and I don't even know where they're getting it from. They admit Nibiru, Planet X, the 10th planet, is real. They say there's a dark celestial body 4 times bigger than the Earth in the sky. That was always the rumor, that there was this big dark celestial body. The ancients called it the 10th planet, or we called it Nibiru at times. It was the one that was going to end the 2012 conspiracy. It was going to end the world in 2012 with the Mayan calendar. Now, they admit that one's in the sky. Now, that one, I don't know if that one has anything to do with eclipses. There's always been rumors of Ketu and Ra, the sun god. And there's been a lot of reports that that the sun and the moon have been in the sky at the same time during eclipses. And that would disprove their theory that it's the sphere of the earth causing the shadow. Now, what's also interesting at eclipses is when they show how eclipses work, they always move the sun super close to the earth, and then they move the moon in the same distance. So they say the sun is 93 million miles away, and we say it's around 3 miles away to 3,000 miles away, depending. It's actually both, depending on what time of year and depending on where you are on the earth. It's a little confusing. But anyways, the moon, when it crosses the earth in their model, when they show it, they're moving the sun really close, and they're moving at the same distance of the moon. We say the moon and the sun are the same size. And they say the moon is 250,000 miles away. So again, yeah, just to like categorize it in your mind, so when they throw all the different information at you, you can remember that they don't have curvature, they don't have motion. We have a model, they have a model. Our model is rooted in the fact that there is no motion, and curvature is not detected, and motion is not detected. The Coriolis effect, where they just say you have to account for the Earth's rotation, it's just not true. They just never do it. There was a guy named Nicholas Coriolis who they named it after. And they always say snipers. There used to be a YouTube video that everybody used to send me to, and they say, "Oh, this sniper has to detect curvature." I've gone shooting a bunch of times. I've never seen anybody detect for curvature before they take their shot. There's also another video of a guy. The world record shot was like a mile away, and the guy was showing how he accounted for the velocity of the bullet to drop, but never motion. It's just absolutely silly that they detect for motion. They just don't do it. That's one that they like. They stop going to certain arguments because they just don't work for them anymore. And then they'll just move on to the next argument. And they don't want to concede because it's their religion. They're willing to go down with the ship. I mean, if they concede, then they're conceding that they fell for a lie, and they're just too egotistical. They're just too proud. Their whole life is about being greater than other people, and if they can use information to be greater than other people, information is just given to us so we can live a nice life. To them, it's not about living a nice life. It's about projecting their energy and being better than other people. And it's absolutely ridiculous. They need to just chill out and live on the flat earth and be fixed and calm and still and be one with the flat earth.